Hello, thanks for checking out the channel and clicking on this video. My name is Zach. This channel is mostly science fiction and fantasy reviews. And today, yes, if you clicked on it, you know we are deep into epic fantasy because I am talking and sharing my thoughts and feelings on Book 2 of Malazan, Book of the Fallen, Deadhouse Gates. So this book was, I could not wait to read it. I absolutely loved Gardens of the Moon. It was so good. Everything I kind of look for in epic fantasy. So I was excited to read Deadhouse Gates, which, yes, kind of has a reputation that maybe precedes itself because a lot of people say this is their favorite book or one of the favorites. I've read also that every book gets progressively better in the Malazan story, but this is the book maybe where people say that it finally clicked of what they liked or what they enjoyed about the Malazan story. And for me, my maybe controversial take is it wasn't as good as Deadhouse Gates. I loved Deadhouse Gates. I thought it was so cool. It was the coolest thing ever, even though I only read it like 2 or 3 months ago. Still fresh in my mind, just finished it, new to the Malazan world. And Deadhouse Gates was, while good, it was definitely really good. I've already started Memories of Ice. I'm on book 3, but it wasn't as great, I think, as people made out to be. But I guess this also is in line with people saying that Malazan is confusing. And okay, I will admit it is confusing, but I don't think it was as hard to read as also people make out to be. So it's a bit of a toss-up on just, I guess, how I'm experiencing it. But my experience with Malazan is book 1 was great. Book 2 was slightly less, but still good. And book 3 is already, as a spoiler, book 3 is already ramping up to be back on par with book 1. I'm loving book 3, but this is about book 2, Deadhouse Gates. So in this book, yes, it is disorienting that we don't pick up right where we left off in Garden of the Moon. So Gardens of the Moon, where I got really invested into the bridge burners. I loved a lot of the storylines that we followed in Gardens of the Moon. It was very epic. It was magical. It was also character driven. We've got politics, you've got magic, you've got lore, world building. It kind of had everything I love about epic fantasy, every kind of trope or cliche plot line. Deadhouse Gates or Malazan in general had it. Gardens of the Moon had it, and you get that again in Deadhouse Gates. So there are some redeeming factors. To start off, there's only a couple main plot points, I guess you could say. You have the Apsalar, Crocus, and Fiddler plotline where they're on their quest. You have Coltaine's Chain of Dogs, of course, which I'll talk about in a second. And then the other main one that I guess if you kind of boil down to just 3 was Icarium and Mappo, right? Those are the main kind of plot or POVs we follow in this one. So to start off, what I loved the most, I think of those 3, the most interesting was probably Icarium and Mappo. This was the other journey. I think everyone's on a journey in this book. They're all not necessarily fighting like a big bad boss or a big bad evil, but they're on some sort of a quest. So Icarium and Mappo, that was, to me, I guess maybe the more world building kind of storyline where we follow them on their journey. Icarium, you get glimpses of who he is, what he was capable of, and then as it goes on, we learn that Mappo is sort of keeping him in control. He's his friend. He's definitely his friend, but he's also his friend, but also his keeper, and that Icarium has some sort of tragic past. He's got some unimaginable power because we get the echoes that everything they pass and see on this journey is related to some past events or some past tragedy that Icarium caused. So that was an interesting dynamic where they're investigating some of the larger world building. They travel through the Warrens, so we get some more glimpses on how the Warrens work, which I think is one of the coolest parts. I love the magic system, if you can even call it a system at this point. I don't know if we really know. It's not like a hard system that we know how it works yet. It's people just tap into Warrens, but they can also travel in Warrens. So I'm still a little bit in the dark on how exactly magic is drawn from another realm, but you can also travel to that realm physically and use it to travel. But anyways, I can't remember Mappo's storyline was really cool. Just that kind of not buddy cop, but that buddy journey of friends and kind of a tragic friend. It was very kind of sad. So I guess maybe that's one of the themes of Deadhouse Gates, sadness, because yes, the other second plot line that again, this is maybe a lot of people's favorite plot line, but didn't hit as much for me, which is Coltaine's Chain of Dogs. So this was the big, supposedly emotional gut punch of the story. It was good. Like, it wasn't like bad by any means, but it was very tragic. Coltaine is leading this band of people that slowly grows as they kind of like interact with other tribes and groups on their journey, and we see sacrifice and longing. And yes, the very end was a little bit, it was sad at the end, as the end of their plot line comes together. But on the whole, it didn't really have like an emotional gut punch or this like really longing that'll, once I finished the Chain of Dogs storyline, I was like, oh man, that was just sweet. But maybe this is one of those things where in retrospect, in later books, if this echoes back again, that once we get the callback of maybe the results of some of these events, that it takes on a new understanding. So maybe I just don't have the context yet to appreciate the Chain of Dogs storyline. But as of just book 2, on my first read, not like a reread or anything, it was only so. I think maybe I also sort of built it up a little bit too much in my own mind. So Coltaine's Chain of Dogs was maybe my least favorite of the 3 storylines. And then I guess I'm doing this out of order. Number 1, I guess, would be Icarium. Number 2 is what I'm going to talk about next, and that is the sort of the through point that brought me back to book 1, and that is this journey of Sari / Apsalar and Crocus and Fiddler. So while I was told, not told, but while I read the spoilers that book 2 doesn't connect to book 1, we get Fiddler and Crocus and Apsalar, which are absolutely characters from book 1. So I'm not sure why people say it doesn't follow it directly. That yes, I guess you're not following the Bridge Burners as a whole directly, but you're following people that had interacted with them or, that were part of it in the world. So to say that it's totally disconnected from book 1, I think is not a valid point. You definitely do get, echoes of things that happened in book 1. So it's maybe like an extended book 1, that book 1 and 2 together maybe make one large story, that we finished the kind of Bridge Burner, Darujistan, and Amanda Rake cool battle with Gardens of the Moon, and then we move on to kind of like a segue, more character-driven storyline with Deadhouse Gates as we follow a couple different journeys kind of post-battle. So it's kind of like a rising fall. If you look at like a story arc, that we had this epic battles in book 1, and then we kind of fall a bit in the sense that there's not as big of an epic existential almost threat. But what I'm talking about, my second most favorite storyline, that we still continue to see characters from the first book with Fiddler, who was one of the assassins who was kind of interacting with the Bridge Burners. You see Crocus, who had a fairly big part in book 1, and then he has a sort of diminished role here in book 2. But the kind of connecting thread also with these characters, which why I like this one a lot, was this kind of trio with Sari / Apsalar, as she kind of gets renamed in this book, is that we still see the meddling of the gods, which was one of my favorite kind of aspects of Gardens of the Moon. I love this kind of idea that the gods interfere directly with mortals in this world, that Erikson has created, that we're seeing people that can ascend to gods and then become like demigods or elder gods. I'm still not understanding exactly the whole hierarchy system of people that can ascend and how that happens. But anyways, there are gods that meddle in humans, and those same gods from book 1, Coltaine, the Shadow and the Assassin, they're back and influencing things here in book 2. So we don't follow, I guess we don't follow some of the gods, like the gods of fortune that we saw, the twins in the first book, but we follow some of the same gods. Coltaine's still here. We still learn about the Shadow and the rope, all these, the assassins gods, and that was really cool. So I really love seeing the gods again, influencing mortals, had their own conversations in book 2, through some of the characters like Sari / Apsalar, who is still dealing with her previous possession, and we get that through thread from book one. So it's still definitely connected to book one as we follow these characters like later, way towards the end. Fiddler has a conversation with Quickben. So he like uses this magic stone he had to do his like one chance to talk to Quickben. And we get a glimpse that like Whiskey Jack and Quickben are like off. Yeah, they're off on another continent doing their thing. So like, yeah, they're still around and we're just on this side story dealing with another plot line, some other events that are happening like the Chain of Dogs and Icarium and Mappo and yes, Fiddler, Crocus, and Apsalar. So we see all these echoes and I still felt very familiar. It definitely felt like still the world of Malazan. We've got the Malazan Empire as a whole, of course, as just an empire entity, doing their thing in other parts of the world. So you hear about Lacine, the leader, the queen of Malazan. So it's a lot of cool stuff. It was still such a good book. So much great world building and lore. Every time the Talane Mass are mentioned, that is one of my favorite plot lines. That it's like not really like a plot line, but this like lore thread, I guess you maybe say, now, because it's not like a specific POV that we've had with the Talane Mass in I think book 2. Maybe I'm getting book 3 already mixed up a little bit, but we get a little bit of the Talane Mass. We hear a little bit about their lore as one of the plot lines interacts with some of the Talane Mass. So really cool stuff if you like the Talane Mass and this idea of these like mythic warriors that had some battle in the past. And we get glimpses of that through Icarium and Mappo, who are dealing with some of these things. So tons of great world building, tons of great character building. Even if Coltaine's Chain of Dogs didn't have like an emotional impact on me, maybe I'm just a callous person, but it had so much of the cool world building, and maybe I think that's what I focused on. So as I was reading, I was just so drawn to when we're going to get the next lore drop, to learn more about just like the monsters and magic in the world, learn about the Warrens, learn about the larger world, the larger system, the different tribes, the Talane Mass, and see what the gods are doing. So it had something for everyone, had a lot of great elements for me, maybe slightly less because we did spend a lot of time with Coltaine and the Chain of Dogs, which kind of had that military command component. So if you like the military politics sort of, I guess, feel from book 1, that is maybe represented in Coltaine's Chain of Dogs, but we do get enough of other things like the magic and the world building to satisfy people like me who want to just really get lost in the world of Malazan. So it did have a lot of great things. So it definitely, again, a solid book. It had me reading it every chance I got. Could not put it down again, just like Gardens of the Moon. Really loved Deadhouse Gates, but if I had to rank them so far, because I'm only on book 3, but book 1, Gardens of the Moon, was better than book 2, and book 3 is inching up there to be back on track to as good as book 1, or if not better. So book 3 is great. I'm already getting ahead of myself because I am just really addicted to Malazan at the moment. I just want to know more, see what's happening next, learn everything I can about the Warrens, the magic, the gods, everything that's happening. So still a great series. I'm going to wrap it up here because I think if you've watched this, try not to spoil anything about all the events that happened in Deadhouse Gates, but Deadhouse Gates was not as difficult as expected. But yes, it took me a good 40-50% again to get my bearing, which was similar to book 1, that we just jump around in every chapter from POV to POV, and you really have to pay attention to what's going on. The Chain of Dogs, and this whole like the rebellion and the whirlwind and all this, the different characters, it was a bit confusing. But once we start seeing the through threads from the previous book, once we caught up to what Apsalar/Sari and Crocus and Fiddler were doing, that again grounded me a bit. And then every time we switched to my favorite of book 2, Icarium and Mappo, saw their journey. It was a break from more human, because they're not quite human, they're like another race. So by seeing following a non-human character, I was invested. I enjoyed Icarium and Mappo's because it had a lot of lore, had a lot of greater world building outside of just the human political intrigue, which was Coltaine's Chain of Dogs. But for readers that are maybe in more on the human side of events and politics is, yeah, maybe Champ Dogs was your grounding factor versus some of the more fantastical stuff that was going on in the other storylines. But overall, really enjoyed it. If I, had to give a rating, it was like a 9 out of 10 and not a 10 out of 10 like Guardians of the Moon, or like a 4.5 out of 5 versus a 5 out of 5 like Guardians of the Moon was. So still great, still definitely worth your time. Is another pretty massive book, and again, a little bit confusing, a little bit disorienting at first, but once I kind of found my place and what was going on in this book, had some grounding through threads, and was interested in seeing what was happening with the world building, I was still hooked, and I am still hooked because I'm still reading book 3, Memories of Ice, and I cannot wait to finish that, to get back to reading it and sharing my thoughts on it. So thanks for watching this review on my thoughts and feelings and just general observation after finishing Deadhouse Gates. I hope this resonated with some of you, that maybe Chained Dogs was your favorite. Why? I can maybe see because it's a very human story, but if you could tell me why Chained Dogs was something maybe it didn't resonate as strongly. But I love the world building. I think Deadhouse Gates had so many good points. It was a very good extended kind of intro to the world of Malazan, and I'm excited because book 3, we're back to the Bridge Burners, Whiskey Jack's back, Quicksman's back, all my favorite characters from book 1 are returning in book 3, and I'm having a blast with Malazan, and I hope you are too. So thanks for watching and have a great day.